don't you still know how to make questions in the present simple? Oh really? Oh my god, oh my gosh, oh my goodness. Okay, I am Mr. Mark and my mission is to teach you English. Okay? So listen to me carefully, take notes, and don't interrupt me. Okay, so there are 5 types of questions. 5 types of questions. So repeat after me. General, general. Special, special. Question to the subject, question to the subject. Alternative, alternative. And the final one is disjunctive or a tag question. Disjunctive or a tag question. So let's move on to the first one, that is general. So now let's talk about the general question, but the verb to be, with the verb to be, okay? So what is a general question? Don't you know, guys, what the general question is? So the general question is the question to the whole sentence, okay? The whole sentence. So let's take an example. I'm a teacher on YouTube, okay? So now we put am for the first place and we exchange I and am. So, am I a teacher on YouTube? Very simple, guys, very simple. You don't know this, very simple. I am a teacher on YouTube. Am I a teacher on YouTube? Okay? So, it's all about the verb to be. So, am, I am, you know, I am, he, she is, we are, they are, you are. Okay? So, now let's take an example with John. John is a student. John is a student. To make up a question, we have to put is for the first place. So, is John a student? Okay? So, is for the first place. Don't you understand this? Alright, so let's move on to a plural. We, for example. We, you, they, it doesn't matter. Plural, yeah? Plural. A lot of people. So we are employees. And the same rule. Very simple, huh? It's are we employees. Okay? Are for the first place. We employees. Voila! Very simple. And this was the general question with to be. Hey guys, so now the general question with all other verbs except the verb to be. So to be, we are not talking about to be anymore, okay? Except to be. So, for example, you often take classes with Mr. Mark. And now we have to make up a general question. How can we make up a general question? By means of the auxiliary verb to do. Yes? Do you often take classes with Mr. Mark? Very simple. Just you put do in front of the sentence. Okay? Do you often take classes with Mr. Mark? Do they take classes with Mr. Mark? Do we often take classes with Mr. Mark? Do I often take classes with Mr. Mark? Okay? So now, let's take the third person singular. And let's take Tyron. Okay? Our hero is Tyron. So Tyron misses classes all the time. Yeah? Naughty Tyron! He misses classes all the time. So, the third person singular. If in the third person singular, I mean he, she, it, we use es, we add es to the verb, any kind of verb. Miss, misses, plays, does, writes, reads. Yes? It's es. So here in the question it should be does. So does Tyrone miss classes all the time? Okay? Does. Does Tyrone miss classes all the time? So we don't need any ES after does, because does took this ES. It swallowed, it ate this ES, okay? Does Tyrone miss classes all the time? Does Mary miss classes all the time? Did the dog, yes, the dog miss classes all the time. Okay guys, now we'll talk about the special question. And this special question is formed by means of WH words, so-called WH words. For example, what, where, when, why, whose, how often, okay? So, let's talk about the question with the verb to be. Do you remember that question or not? I am a teacher on YouTube. Do you remember that sentence? And now our task is to ask the special question. The special question. So imagine that there is no YouTube, not on YouTube. So our task is to ask a question. So we put where, then we write the same question. Where am I a teacher? I'm a teacher on YouTube. Okay? So just to the general question that was, am I a teacher? We add where, and we have where am I a teacher? Okay? So he is a student in the university. Where is he a student? That's all about the verb to be. Very, very simple. You just add where here. Okay? So, let's move on to other verbs. So, other verbs. You remember this question. You remember this sentence. You often take classes with Mr. Mark. Yes or no? I hope yes. So, our task is to give a question to the word classes. So imagine that there is no word classes over here. And the question is, what do you often take with Mr. Mark? So ye substitute classes for the word what. So it's a WH word what. So what, then don't forget about do, because you remember that from the general question you have to put do. What do you often take with Mr. Mark? Very simple, guys, very simple. I hope that you understand. Okay, so let's move on to the next sentence. The next sentence. This one, Tyron, about our Tyron. So Tyron misses classes all the time. So he's a naughty Tyron, yeah? So Tyron misses classes all the time. Our task is to give a question to the word all the time, to this collocation all the time. So we put how often, how, it's also like a WH word, it's W and H, yes, it contains W and H, it's WH word. How often does Tyrone miss classes? So you remember the question, does Tyrone miss classes with Mr. Mark? But we just put this here, the same general question to the special question here. How often does Tyrone miss classes? You can also ask about, you can also imagine that there is no classes over here, and you can ask again the question, what does Tyrone miss all the time? What does Tyrone miss all the time? So here is what, and here is how often. So now we have different WH words here. Where, what, how often, and again what. You can also ask when, you can also ask how much, whose, whatever. So let's move on to the third type of the question. It's a question to the subject. Okay? So the question to the subject is with the questions what or who. what, or who. So if we take our favorite sentence, I'm a teacher on YouTube, yes? So here is the subject. The subject is always at the end of the sentence, like I, okay? Who? I. So I is the subject, all right? So here we have to form a question is in such a way. Who is a teacher on YouTube? So we put who here. Who. So we substitute I for who. And then we put here as is a teacher on YouTube. So who is always singular. Alright? So let's take some other examples with other verbs. So let's take our favorite sentence. You often take classes with Mr. Mark. And where is the subject here? Tell me, where? Yes, correct. It's you. So you is the subject here. So we have to ask the question as follows. Who often takes? Already takes because it's a third person singular already. Because who takes. Okay, S. Who often takes classes with Mr. Mark? So we substitute who for you. Okay? And the final example is with a sentence with Tyron. So Tyron misses classes all the time. So who misses classes all the time? Very simple. It's who misses classes all the time. Okay, let's take the fourth question. The fourth type of the question is alternative. So alternative question. So what is an alternative question? The alternative question is that question that consists in having a choice. So when we have a choice, when we have or, we use alternative question. Okay? So, do you remember that question? I am a teacher on YouTube. So, we have to make an alternative. We have to make a choice. So, is he a teacher at school or on YouTube? So, here we have two alternatives. At school and on YouTube. Okay? So, here is or. So we are given a choice. Is he a teacher at school or on YouTube? So basically it's the same question, the general question, but with the choice, with or, with the conjunction or. Okay, so let's take some other examples. So we have the sentence, you often take classes with Mr. Mark. Okay? You didn't forget this question, did you? So, you often take classes with Mr. Mark. So, we have some alternatives. Where is the alternative? Find the or. Okay, so here is or. Do you or we often take classes with Mr. Mark? So, we have two alternatives. You and we. And or here, between. Okay, so this is just an alternative question. Very simple, guys, very simple. Okay, so the next sentence is Tyron misses classes all the time. I'm tired of this question. Does Tyron miss classes all the time or from time to time? Okay? All the time or from time to time. So two alternatives. All the time and from time to time. And we have or here. Okay, so the last type of the question, it's a disjunctive question or so-called a tag question. So what is a tag? The tag is like this, isn't he? Aren't we? So these are tags. Okay, so now we'll learn how to make questions with the tags. So let's take our previous question, our previous sentence. He is a student. So our task is to make up a tag question. How to make up a tag question? He is a student, then we put a comma and we put is plus not, is isn't he. So we make a negation, okay? Is plus not, isn't. So we make up isn't. If the sentence is positive, the question tag is always negative. If the sentence is negative, the question tag is positive. So here is isn't he? Okay, so the second example, we are employees and we have to make up a tag question. So again, we put a comma, then we write are plus not, it gives aren't, and we put we. So we are employees, aren't we? If there is we aren't employees, it will be aren't we? Are we? Okay? We aren't employees, are we? So vice versa. Okay, so now I'll give you an exception. So nota bene is an exception to the rules, okay? So the exception to the rules is as follows. I am a teacher on YouTube. So it's very difficult to make up a tag. That's why we put aren't. Aren't I? So, or ain't I? So this is an exception to the rule. It's also, you can say like, I'm a student, aren't I? Or I'm a student, ain't I? Is it clear? Okay. So let's move on to the next examples. You often take classes with Mr. Mark. So do you remember that question? That sentence? Okay. So our task is to make up a tag question, a tag. So with other verbs, the question tag is formed with the auxiliary verb do. So you often take classes with Mr. Mark, don't you? So here is the tag question. Don't you? You put don't here. You remember the general question do. So don't and you. And another example is Tyron misses classes all the time. Tyron is the third person singular, so it's es. Yeah, so that's why we have to put here not don't, but already doesn't. So doesn't he? So Tyron misses classes all the time, doesn't he? Okay? So your question, your homework, guys. So you have to make all types of questions. Yeah, all types of questions to these sentences. The first sentence is as follows. Jerry speaks English very well. So you have to make up a general, special, question to the subject, alternative, and disjunctive questions. It's unbelievable, I know, but you should. And the second sentence is she is a tractor driver. So she is a tractor driver. So you have to make up all types of questions as well. So guys, you subscribe to my channel, okay? You like this video and press the button bell. Don't forget about the bell button and share it with everybody. Don't you?